Hey guys, so the term trust your instincts usually serves us well in life, but when we're riding motorcycles, it's usually not the case. So let's get into that in this video to make sure that your instincts are the right ones.
Nothing hones your mind and your instincts lack necessity.
Hey guys, so this series, we're gonna be covering why your instincts or your initial instincts when riding a motorcycle are wrong. If you're in a situation that you're not comfortable with, especially if you're getting on the bike for the first time.
Yeah, there's no shortage of videos of, of a beginner getting on a motorcycle. You see it on, fail videos and America's Funniest Videos. Somebody getting on a motorcycle, they don't know how the clutch works. They just think you just twist the throttle and somebody just tells them, oh, you got to pull in the clutch. And, they rev the throttle and it starts to move and they kind of freak out and they just dump the clutch. And either it'll wheelie up or they'll crash into a tree or a fence. And you just see those videos all over. And it's just one example. Like so many of our instincts are just natural instincts when we're on a motorcycle are just wrong. And you have to develop new instincts. And this is just a kind of an introduction principle where you freak out and the default you think is to let go of everything. That's what happens when you burn your hand or stop doing what you think you're doing. But on a motorcycle, it's pulling in the clutch that neutralizes it and letting it go that makes it go. And so that's just one of many, many examples of how our instincts are wrong. So, either our natural instincts are wrong or the instincts or reflexes that we've developed, driving a car doesn't translate to two wheels. And a really good example of this is just somebody that just jumps on a motorcycle for the first time. They hop on, somebody tells them how the clutch and the throttle works. They get on, they rev it up, and it starts to go. They freak out, and their instinct isn't to keep the clutch in to slow down. Their instinct is to kind of let it go of everything and dump the clutch. And either they're wheeling through the backyard or going through a fence and hitting something. And so that's just a really simple example of what we're talking about. And there's lots of them. There's so many that we've talked about over the years where just like, yeah, our natural instinct is absolutely wrong. And sometimes even whole conversations that we have that we'll get into a little bit later this episode that are just absolutely wrong and don't do us any favors.
So one thing with when we get into like say shock and awe situation where we're stressing out, we tend to just drop things, open our body up, or startle situation where we're like, whoa, what just happened? And that's where going through those courses that we talked about in our previous episodes, they will have you just sit there and feel the friction zone of that clutch. If you drive a car that's manual or you know how to drive a manual, you know that friction point of a clutch. If you don't know what we're talking about, don't jump on a bike and worry about the throttle. Just learn that friction zone because as you can see through these videos that we're showing you right now, when people get stressed out, they just drop it and they just zoom away.
Yeah, they dump the clutch and they usually feel like they can't turn at all either. And so they'll just head straight into some car, fence or pole or something. But yeah, it really is a good example of, how we get it wrong. And it's something we have to develop and learn and
Mhm.
build that skill, the proper reflex.
I would say that, when we're finding that friction zone, what I like to do is really control the speed. Your bike will move without having the gas on, without having the throttle going, just having the clutch and the engine just move, and then practice that brake. Find that friction zone and then practice the brake and really get that down.
Yeah, and I would say MSF is really good. Motorcycle Safety Foundation. Those courses are really good at teaching you how to use the clutch. You don't have to know how to drive a manual transmission on a vehicle. It does maybe help a little bit. They just teach you how to use that clutch with no throttle. You just kind of rock back on your heels and then let the clutch go a little bit until you're flat-footed, and then you go back on your heels and you just practice that friction zone. And it's really good at getting you comfortable with it. If you don't know how to ride, if you've never ridden a motorcycle before and you want to get into it, definitely take that class because you're going to come out with not only some competency but some confidence, which is really important
I have confidence in you.
on just how to operate the basics of the motorcycle.
And with slow speed maneuvers, it's very important. You're managing your bike with the clutch. If you're in the parking lot, you're going through slow speed maneuvers around cones and figure eights. It's very much controlling that clutch. And so it's one of those things that as you practice it, you will rewire your brain. And when something does go wrong, because it will go wrong, you're going to pull the clutch in instead of just freak out and dump it. And you got to control. You want to squeeze the clutch for control and maintain it. So yeah, it's that instant instinct that we're wired that way. When something happens, like you were saying, like you grab something that's hot, you let it go.
Ouch, baby.
This is not the case. This is completely opposite. Another thing that very early on when we were riding bikes, that when you're in a turn, and I'm going to quote it here, it says, "I can't lean it anymore. I can't brake when you're in a turn." So you're coming in too hot to a turn and you think in your head, I can't lean anymore and I can't brake, and you panic. What happens in this situation? What instinct is wrong?
Yeah, and in this case, it's not just one instinct, it's kind of a whole conversation that you're having internally that's wrong. You know, you're going too fast
Yep.
and you just have this feeling, oh crap, I'm going too fast. I can't lean it any more than I am, or else I'm going to lose traction and I'm going to wreck. And I can't brake, or I can't add any more brakes because I'm using all of the traction. It's almost never true. I mean, it's almost never true unless you're dragging a knee or an elbow. You can lean it more. And certainly something with low clearance like a cruiser, you're going to have less lean angle available to you, but there's still a lot you can do. And rewiring that conversation and realizing, okay, there's some things you can do. Now, one of the most profound experiences that I've probably ever had on a motorcycle was my first track day. Was working with somebody that was a better rider than I was and got some really good advice on looking through the turn properly. And I remember I was going faster and faster, just getting better and better, but I still wasn't looking through the turn as I should. And I remember going into one turn and I had this conversation in my head, oh crap, I'm going way too fast. I can't hold this turn. And then I said to myself, you know what? I need to look through the turn more. And I looked through the turn more, and instantly it was a 180 shift. I had the opposite viewpoint. Oh man, I could have gone way faster in this turn. It was such an eye-opening experience. And so that's my first piece of advice is if you're going into a turn too hot, the first thing you want to do is make sure you're looking through the turn properly.
Here you go. Keep your eyes up. Keep looking where you go.
And you can add brakes unless you're dragging a knee, and shouldn't generally be doing that on the street too much anyway. You've got more that bike can do. And to realize that you can do more, looking through the turn makes a huge difference. Obviously, adding a little bit of progressive front brake, you can certainly do that. And I've been surprised at times how much grip I can get out of that front tire and when I've overcooked a turn just by progressively using the brakes. The other thing is, along with that whole concept of overcooking a turn, we're almost certainly going to target fixate.
What are you looking at, butthead?
And so it's all these things in one, where we're target fixating on the actual corner. And there's so many videos out there where they overcook a turn, they have this internal conversation, and they don't even start to lean. Like they just go straight. They target fixate and they just go straight off the road. And maybe they've got a little bit of brake and they hit some sand or gravel and boom, they're down. Really, those two things. First thing, look through the turn. Second, add some progressive front brake.
I think what helped me to get my mind around that, because I came into that when I started riding, going around turns, I felt, holy smokes, I'm into this too fast. But the first thing I told myself was, I know this bike can do more than what I'm doing. And so I'm going to trust the bike's ability, look through the turn. Now I'm hitting my comfort zone and I wanted to avoid that a little bit. But it's good to push that comfort zone a little bit. That's when you start to rewire your brain, your skill set moves up. As you're watching right now in this video, the lean angle of a tire, when it's straight up and down, it has 100% grip. And as you add lean to it, you can still see as they're hitting this tire that it has grip. But as soon as it reaches full lean angle, when you're dragging knee or elbow, it could pop out. Just know when you're in the streets, you're probably leaning at most maybe 45% of that tire's ability for grip. So look through the turn, trust the bike, trust the engineers that designed it, and just stay neutral throttle. Don't do anything crazy, but look through the turn.
What's the alternative? You know that if you run the turn wide, that's a bad day. You know you're going to wreck. It's a guaranteed you're going down, or things are going to not go well. I mean, I've certainly seen people run wide and keep it up, but it's very, unlikely. So it's like a guaranteed negative outcome, or leaning it further than you ever have, looking through the turn, and going through a turn faster than you ever have and making it. If it doesn't work out, you're going to go wide anyway. And so you just got to, at some point, trust the tires, trust the suspension, and get yourself out of that situation.
Yeah, target fixation is huge. Again, we're talking about those initial instincts. We tend to look at the problem because we want to go, our brain goes into that fight or flight mode. If we see a problem we're trying to avoid, we want to fixate on it, to analyze it, and to be able to figure out, okay, how can I survive this problem that's at my doorstep? But that's where again, these instincts are wrong when riding motorcycles. It's, you don't want to look at the problem. You want to look at your solution and just say, I'm committing myself, bike's ability, and just get through this.
Yeah, and I would say target fixation itself, right? We go where we look on a motorcycle. It's not like a car. Kind of have to treat it differently. I've been riding for years and years and years, and I still can't look off to the side. I can't look as long as I could if I was in a car, because on a motorcycle, you just drift that way. That's just an instinct. Like you said, when we're focused on a threat, that's a wrong instinct. On a motorcycle, you need to identify it and then look away from it to get around it and get away from it.
There's a saying that I like more in the sports realm. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. If we're taking that same analogy into a turn, take the turn. If you don't take the turn, you're going to miss that turn 100% of the time. So take it and just work on it. And then after the ride, you know what you need to work on, and then go back and work on the slow maneuvers, work on fundamentals, watch videos, really play through it in your mind. Just like Cool Running, Jamaican bobsled team, they're in a bathtub and they were visually turn one, left, turn right. You're really walking yourself in your mind through different turns. What would you do in this situation? How do your hands grip? How do you really go through this? Because we're talking about life and death
Tell them it's a matter of life and death.
a lot of times in these issues that are so avoidable in these accidents. If anything, you just get your bike banged up and it's a bad day. But let's avoid that. Let's have these conversations and identify which instincts are wrong.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Part 2 is coming in a week. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss it.